Hello everyone and welcome to another How Sees It review. Today I'm reviewing Blue Lagoon, published by Blue Orange Games and designed by Reiner Knizia for 2 to 4 players ages 8 and up. Let's go ahead and show you the components, talk about how the game is played, and give you some of my thoughts on the game itself. So this is another great strategy game here by Blue Orange and great production value. So it has a great insert that holds all the players' pieces. So there's, again, 4 players. So all the settler tokens here fit very nicely. And then underneath here, you can have the resource tokens and the village pieces here that we'll show you in a second. So, and then the board fits in there. Plenty of room. Everything fits nicely in there. Go ahead and show you the board that it comes with. It folds out. It's a medium-sized board, I'd say here, and it has a nice feel to it. Beautiful illustrations, beautiful artwork. So the production value of the game is fantastic. So the resource tokens, as you can see laid out here, you will, in all the player setups, be setting up the board randomly. Taking all these different resource tokens and statue tokens, putting them in this cloth bag that the game comes with, shuffling them all up, and then randomly drawing them out and placing a token, either resource or statue token, here on these kind of stone circle spaces. So that's the setup and the components here, looking at all these resource tokens. Again, they're wood, very nice quality components there. So then each player is going to take their settler tokens and their village kind of meeples or pieces there. They're double-sided. Each one is double-sided with either a land or a water side to be played onto the board. And then each color comes with 5 of the villages. Okay. The game also does come with a good scoring pad here. Good amount of those. Again, not necessary, but very nice that they've included the scoring pad as well. The instructions here as well included in English, French, and Spanish. And just to show you, I mean, it's a booklet here, but really it's these pages here, and then you can see it switches over to French at that point. So the game is very simple. My young kids have played it with me as well, and have done very well. So it is pretty easy to pick up on. And it's played in, the full game is played in 2 phases. The exploration phase, or the settlement phase, and the exploration phase. Let me make sure I get those terminologies right. Exploration phase and settlement phase. But basically, it's going to feel like you're playing the game kind of twice with a little bit, again, very small change for that second phase. And I'll show you what I mean. So the game has multiple ways of scoring, which I think is one of the things that I like most about this game. Other than its simplicity, is the fact that there are lots of different ways to be able to score points. So the first way you're going to score points here, listed on the scoring pad, is by area majority. So as you're playing these on the board, you'll notice some numbers here by the islands and out on the side here. So whoever has the most tokens, and that also includes any villages they may have played down, whoever has the most tokens on that island will score 10 points, and so on for all the different islands. The other way you're going to score points is by connecting a long path, and your longest path connecting all of the islands, or as many of the islands as you can. So if you are able to, what you're going to do is you're going to score 5 points for every island along that chain. So right now this is obviously a very small chain, but would score 5 points, 5 additional points. So 10 points for that chain. Okay, so the other way that you can score points is by touching all of the islands or almost all of the islands. So if you're able to have tokens on all eight islands, you will score 20 points. If you have tokens on all but one, you have on 7 of the 8 islands, you will score 10 points. So some bonus points there as well. And so then we get into resources. So again, on your turn, it's very, very simple. During this first phase, you're going to play a token onto the board, and you can play anywhere in any of the water spaces, okay, for this first phase. And then from there, you can also play on your turn. So you're doing one thing. So that would be one turn, and then it would go to your opponent. Then when it comes back around, well, you could go, in another water space somewhere else, or you can now get onto this island. You must have a connection from one of the water pieces to then start exploring the island, okay? So now that I have this here, I can place onto either one of these island squares here as well. Now I could also play another water one there or anywhere. But the other thing you're going to want to do is trying to collect resources. So whenever you can place a token on one of these spaces, you're going to collect the resource or statue that is there. And that's how you will score additional points. So let's go ahead and look at this here for a little bit. So the way that you score points for resources is by collecting the same type, okay? So if we're looking at this, if you just have one of a type, it's going to be 0 points. But if you get 2 of the same, it's 5 points. 3 of the same, 10. And if you're able to get 4, you will get 20 points. Okay, so big bonus for collecting all of those. And this is a one-time bonus. If you get 1 of each of the resources, you'll get a bonus 10 points. And then each statuette is worth 4 points. So on a future turn, I can place this here. I know this is going to give me 4 points at the end of the game. And that's basically the game. And what you're going to do is you're going to be placing those, taking turns, placing back and forth. Again, area control, area majority will score you points, collecting the different resources, collecting the statuettes, connecting the islands, trying to get your tokens on all of the islands. All of those will score you points. Then the game ends when either all of the resource tokens are gone or all of the players' tokens are gone. Now it does scale a little bit, so with 2 players you're going to play with all of the tokens in the game. With 3 you'll remove like 5 of the with 3 players you'll remove like 5 of them, and if you're playing with 4 players you're going to remove 10 of these tokens here. So then you will score just as we discussed, and then you move into the settlement phase, which again you're going to score exactly the same. So what makes it different? So what you're going to do is all of the resource tokens, or most of them, are going to be off the board. And at that point, you're going to remove everyone's tokens after you've scored, of course. And you're going to take all the resource tokens, put them in the bag, shuffle them all up, reset up the board for a new game. But any village tokens that were laid out remain on the board. And those are very important because unlike the first phase where you are playing anywhere in the water, you're coming into the area, you're exploring the islands, then at that point you have already explored the islands and it's now a settlement phase. Meaning, so I can no longer just play water ones anywhere that I want. You are now going to be restricted to where you have placed your villages on the board. So I can only play next to one of my pieces that is already on the board, meaning no longer can I do this, but I could place in the water next to that, and so on. if by chance someone had placed a village on one of the circle places, then that would not get a resource token. Usually you're not going to want to do that. You're going to want to build here where you're right next to both of them to see if you can get those resources immediately in that next phase. Okay, so there you are restricted to your villages and spreading out from there. And then you play exactly the same way. And so that is Blue Lagoon. Again, very nice production quality. The game is, again, very, very simple, very short turns. And even though there is a lot of different ways to score points, it doesn't really get into a whole lot of that analysis paralysis. Of course, there's different things to think about, but it's very simple, and there are a lot of things to consider, but it still goes very quickly. So I like the quick gameplay. The illustration and production quality is fantastic, and the 2 different phases is kind of interesting. It's slightly different, and so in that first phase, you do need to kind of think through the location of these villages, but for the most part, it feels like you're playing the game twice in a row. And it suggests, for the first few times, maybe just play the exploration phase to get people acclimated to it. I think people pick up on it pretty quick. The only understanding is in that the importance of where these are placed in that first phase for the second phase and how it impacts the second phase of the game. But I really enjoy Blue Lagoon. And that is how Lou sees it.